What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg Miller from the IGN PlayStation team. Alongside me, editor-in-chief of the movie channel, Eric Morrow. How are you, Eric?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. We are here to give you your grudge match between X-Men-Origins-Wolverine Uncaged Edition video game and X-Men-Origins-Wolverine movie.
Wah, wah.
Eric, tell me all about the movie. What's going on in the story?
Well, Greg, it's exactly that. It's obviously the origins of Wolverine, where he came from. Starts back in the 1800s in Canada and shows him as a little kid. Shows his relationship to Victor Creed, who we all know as Sabretooth, and then flashes them forward through several wars set in the Americas to their current day, which is, I think, right after the Vietnam era, in through the Weapon X program and Wolverine getting his adamantium-laced skeleton and claws.
Video games are a lot like that, but not exactly. None of that stuff from the Civil War or any of the ancient stuff's in there. Basically, you are part of when everything goes wrong for Wolverine and Victor. When they break up in Africa, you have to go from there to Weapon X and then to, up in Alaska with his girlfriend and stuff. So you're getting all these bits and pieces from the movie, but sadly, it's all tossed in a very jumbled way. You start in Africa. Well, you start with a cinema that's supposed to be in the present day with a far-flung future. Then you jump to Africa. Then you go 3 years in advance to what says present day, but isn't where you just were in the future, which should have been present, you'd think, but isn't. Then you go back to Africa and you just jump around, and if you haven't seen the movie, you're going to be completely confused, and even if you have, it's not that much better. But you run into a bunch of monsters that were clearly just tossed in, things like these lava-like monsters that are leviathans. You have to fight like 7 or 8 times in Africa. Then when you're in the Weapon X facility, there's all these other giant mutants called Wendy's that come at you. All these enemies have the same exact attack pattern too, where you have to jump on their back and slash them over and over and over again just to beat them.
I can tell you that the movie doesn't have these characters. There is no lava monster in the film, but it is pretty bloated with like excessive use of mutant characters that it just feels like they throw them in for name value. Hey, fans will know Gambit, fans will know Deadpool. Let's just cram these guys in the movie with no real purpose. All of this said, I will say that Jackman pretty much is the saving grace of the film. He's the one actor that holds the film together.
Yeah, I think the same thing can be said for the game. Obviously, he was nice enough to come in and voice himself and give his likeness and everything else. So that comes together. You get to see this through visual effects. You get to see this Wolverine that you don't get to see in the movies and that you haven't really seen since comics. I mean, he's tearing people apart, punching through them. A bomb goes off next to him and he's ripped down to his skeleton. You see all the metal and you slowly see it come back together and heal. I mean, there's so much blood in this game and it wasn't in the movie at all.
Yeah, that level of violence is definitely not in the film. I mean, I'm glad that they didn't really family it down, and you don't, by not showing Wolverine jam his claws into people, you do see that. But, I mean, I've seen bits of the game, and it is gory and bloody as hell. And speaking of his claws and visual effects, I mean, that was pretty disappointing, too. I mean, you figure you've had 10 years to perfect the one thing about Wolverine that makes him Wolverine, those claws, and they just haven't done it for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the game that they nailed. Like, I mean, they nailed how he should feel, his adamantium skeleton, killing people with those claws.
Now, the only saving grace is that the big kind of the film's boss battle, if you will, right at the end of the film. That seems to be the fight that they put all the money into, all the choreography into. I gotta be honest with you, though, it makes me wonder if somebody else directed that fight scene.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I could have done without Stryker. Yeah. Typing in commands. Like, I didn't understand. So he's typing in decapitate. So then is he typing in super fast, jump around, teleport, kick, spin kick, blah, blah. I mean, in the Wolverine game, I beat him, I think 2 or 3 times just to make sure this wasn't a glitch. He falls on his back and just crawls around on the floor, and you just stab him repeatedly to death.
Oh, wow.
For like 7 or 8 blows. It's like, really? This isn't, I don't think how it happened.
Well, I mean, really, that was the best set piece. I mean, the other big set piece that folks are probably familiar with from the trailer and stuff is the chopper fight, where Wolverine's like on a motorcycle, and then he ends up on top of the chopper, and he sets it on fire by lighting the gas with his claws.
Yeah.
That was really, really hit and miss. I mean, the effects
totally.
in that, you could tell that, clear CG use, clear wire work, and then this little bit of it looked good. It was uneven.
Yeah, I think one of the defining moments, I think, when people sit down to watch the Wolverine game, you come up to this bridge that's out, and this helicopter rises up, and Wolverine jumps onto it, and then eventually punches through the glass, grabs the dude, and throws the dude head first into the blades. And you see all the blood go around the blades, and everybody who's ever watched that with me goes, "Oh my god!" like screams and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Still, obviously, the game way better than the movie.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, Eric, one of the interesting things here is that this is an M-rated game based on a PG-13 movie, which is based on a comic book, but somehow the video game based on the movie, based on the comic, is better than the movie based on the comic. Where do you think that comes to? Do you think the developers knew Wolverine more, or were the filmmakers trying to make it more general public?
Yeah, I think in the case of the video game, you have a less studio hacks, if you will, for lack of a better word, getting involved in it. I mean, there were so many cooks in the kitchen for this film that it just kept removing it further and further from the kind of classic comic book story that we all know.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's in an effort to make it much more accessible to a mainstream audience, so that my wife would dig it, not just me.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, and on the video game side, you have to tip your hat to Raven for doing that.
I remember one of my editors walking into my office saying, "Hey man, I just saw a glimpse of a Sentinel in the Wolverine video game trailer. I'm wondering if that's worth reporting on movies that it might be in the film."
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him going, "No, it's never going to happen."
Yeah,
As awesome as that would be, and as fanboy dream that would be, it's not going to make it in the film. I think the video games obviously have the liberty of they're longer also, so you can throw a lot more from the comics in there. Let's just hope that the recently announced Deadpool movie is a little better.
Well, as long as they keep his mouth sewn shut and shaved head, and oh god, why would you do that? Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been the Grudge Match, Wolverine versus Wolverine.
Ooh, shiny.